Tell us a little bit about the United States, because you've already mentioned that it's a special case in this context. Why is it a special case? What's happening?
It's special only because it has a political polarization that goes through the whole population that's really severe, that doesn't follow the simple rules of just testing two cultures, religion and climate catastrophism, is the US, and effectively it's because there are four. So there is the same two, religion and climate catastrophism, but there is also effectively Dem-Lib tribalism and Rep-Con tribalism. So the problem is you've actually got four cultures, and that's a bit more complicated. And so I devote a chapter, as you know, in the book to the US. And the weird thing is that religion, the belief in religion is for the Rep-Con tribe. Effectively, their belief in religion helps, because they're already skeptical for political reasons. Then their religious beliefs make them even more skeptical. So effectively, they're reduced even more on their belief in climate change. But it's the opposite for the Dem-Libs. In fact, because they're politically for climate catastrophism, their religion actually amplifies. Because for unconstrained scenarios, religion and climate catastrophism are allied, then effectively it doubles up. They're unconstrained, so their unconstrained measurements double up, and the Rep-Con ones drop even more, because their religious belief is because their innate skepticism is already turned on. Is a good way of putting it. So it remains turned on for the religious peoples. It turns on even harder, and it's the opposite for the. So it's much more complicated. You've got to map these four cultures, which is what it comes down to.
And sadly, they're even more detached from science than in other parts of the world, as far as I can see. Because, I mean, Democrats believe in this catastrophism because Republicans don't, and vice versa. And that has nothing to do with science at all.
Nothing to do with the science at all. And you're right. This is the worst instance. It's the sort of worst case scenario. Everybody is behaving culturally. You know, whichever side you're on, you know, the truth is the Rep-Con tribe aren't, you know, they happen to be, you know, on the right side of being against the culture, but it's not for the right reasons. They're doing it for similar cultural reasons, and so everybody's behaving culturally, and nobody effectively the evidence is lost. The bit about, you know, where rationality at scale is trying to get a voice in this huge battle, a clash of cultural titans, is effectively they don't. You know, you hear occasionally the voice of sanity, like Judith Curry, for instance, or Steve Kooning, you know, but it's a tiny voice in the wilderness. And even most of the people, you know, on the battling against it side are behaving culturally, and they use their old style cultural weapons in this war. They don't use science. They just, you know, beat up the other side. So yeah, worst case scenario. Really.
Worst case scenario. What if? How about science itself? I mean, if science were to be also considered culture, that would be a shocker for many, perhaps. But maybe what is often referred to as scientism is a culture. You know, the belief that everything science says is set in stone, and you can't question it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a culture yet, in the sense that it hasn't. It's not a boundable entity you can sort of grasp in your hand and say these are the rules for it, these are the dress codes, these are the narratives. But there is definitely some cultural behaviour in science. I mean, its whole architecture these days, with Nobel prizes and all sorts of grant funding and so on, and it's become the voice of authority, which has got, unfortunately, more and more abused, you know, in adverts or anything, and indeed by cultural support, which may or may not be on the right side, but it's for the wrong reasons. So I think, you know, I deal with this, I think, in chapter 7. But the authority of science itself has developed its own cultural overhead, you might call it. It's not entirely lost yet. You know, it's not become. You know, we don't have the high priest of science yet, but it's why a lot of it has gone off course. You know, people are treating scientists way too way too religiously. They believe their words far too often. And it's only slowly that the general public, I think, if there's one good thing that came out of the COVID thing, is that general publics have realized that scientists may not be as authoritative and right as they thought before, and that's probably a good thing, because science needs a big reset back to shedding its cultural values, I think, because that's what the social sciences particularly are just completely lost, as the Heterodox Academy and others have shown with papers, it's clear and obvious that most of the social sciences is hijacked by, especially in the US, by one political view, which means you can't do proper social science because you haven't got a diversity of views, and it's going to lead to bias everywhere, and it has led to bias everywhere. So I think culture and science are mixed up, and that mixing has gone for a long way. So sometimes people reject a correct scientific consensus because it's actually presented as part of a culture. So, for instance, pretty decent medical science was tried to be exported to Africa or whatever in the 19th century, but because it came in a culture that was Bible bashing and with missionaries and all this, that, and the other, who were effectively the leading edge of then a lot of it was rejected, even though it's correct science. This is a kind of obvious example. The medicine was rejected because it came with a clearly cultural package, and the natives instinctively realized this was true. And that can happen in the modern world. Correct science can be rejected because it comes in a cultural package. That they are mixed up. I wouldn't say it's got as far as science has not been completely hollowed out. It isn't yet a religion, but it's got way too much cultural overhead that really needs shedding.
Well, I guess proper science, science per se, cannot be a culture by definition. It's something different. It should be something different. But as you say here and point out, it can be kind of infected by cultural.
Exactly, infected is a good word. I mean, the problem is, you're right. By definition, it isn't a culture, but unfortunately, it's conducted by humans, and humans are very open to cultural behaviors. That's the problem. If it was carried out by robots only. Then
well, that's another discussion. Yeah. Hello, my friends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that like button and share the video with your friends. Please support the channel if you can. I appreciate all the support. You can become a Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or you can make a one-off donation via PayPal if you wish. All the links are in the description box below. Thank you.